Some moments in life are supposed to be yours and yours alone to share when you're ready, and finding out you're pregnant and deciding how and when to announce it should be one of those sacred moments that nobody can take from you. But my mother-in-law had other plans and decided that her birthday party was the perfect venue to announce my pregnancy to 50 people before I'd even told my own parents. So I'm a 28-year-old woman, and I've been married to my husband Jake for 3 years, and we'd been trying to get pregnant for about 6 months when I finally got that positive test 2 weeks ago, and I was absolutely thrilled and terrified and overwhelmed all at the same time. I told Jake immediately, and we were both so excited, and we agreed that we wanted to wait until after my first doctor's appointment to start telling people because we wanted to make sure everything was okay, and we'd heard all the statistics about early miscarriages, and we didn't want to announce too soon, and we decided we'd tell our parents first in person and then figure out a cute way to announce to extended family and friends after the first trimester. My first prenatal appointment was scheduled for 2 weeks out, and Jake and I were planning to tell our parents right after that appointment, assuming everything looked good. And we'd been enjoying having this secret just between us for a little while before the chaos of everyone knowing began. Jake's mom, Linda, has always been a boundary-crossing nightmare. She's one of those mothers-in-law who thinks her son is still her baby and I'm just borrowing him, and she's constantly inserting herself into our marriage in ways that make me uncomfortable. Like she has a key to our house and will just show up unannounced, and she's always making comments about when we're going to give her grandchildren because apparently our reproductive choices are her business. Last week was Linda's 60th birthday, and she was throwing herself this massive party at a local event venue with basically everyone she'd ever met invited, and Jake and I were obviously expected to attend because if we'd missed it, we'd never hear the end of it. I'd been feeling pretty nauseous from morning sickness, but I was trying to push through and not show it, because I didn't want anyone to suspect anything. And Jake had been running interference all evening, keeping his mom away from me as much as possible, because she kept trying to get me to drink wine and I kept making excuses about being on antibiotics. About halfway through the party, I went to the bathroom because I was feeling especially nauseous, and I guess I was in there longer than usual because when I came out, Linda was standing right outside the bathroom door with this weird, knowing look on her face. She asked if I was feeling okay, and I said I was fine, just a little tired, and she got this huge smile and said, "You're pregnant, aren't you?" And I completely froze because I didn't know what to say, and my face must have given it away because she literally squealed and hugged me before I could even respond. I tried to tell her that we weren't announcing yet and we wanted to wait until after my first appointment, and please don't say anything to anyone. And she said of course she wouldn't say anything. It was my news to share. But I could tell by the look in her eyes that she was lying and she was absolutely going to tell people. I found Jake and pulled him aside and told him what happened, and that his mom knew, and he said we should just leave before she could cause any problems. But before we could make an exit, Linda got up on the little stage they'd set up and took the microphone to make a speech, thanking everyone for coming to her party, and I had this sinking feeling about where this was going. Linda gave this whole speech about how blessed she was to have such wonderful family and friends, and then she said she had a special announcement to make that made this birthday even more meaningful, and she said, "I'm going to be a grandmother, Jake and his wife are pregnant," and the entire room erupted in cheers and congratulations while I stood there in absolute shock and horror. Jake immediately went up to his mother, and I could see them having a heated conversation on stage, and Linda kept smiling and waving at people like nothing was wrong, and I just wanted to disappear because this moment that was supposed to be mine and Jake's had been stolen and announced at someone else's party without my consent. People started coming up to me congratulating me and asking how far along I was and if we knew the gender. And I was trying to be polite while also dying inside because I hadn't even told my own parents yet and now everyone knew. And I could see my phone blowing up with texts from family members who'd apparently already heard the news through social media because people were posting about it. I found my parents in the crowd and they looked hurt and confused, and my mom asked why she had to find out she was going to be a grandmother from Jake's mother at a birthday party, and I started crying and trying to explain that we weren't ready to announce yet, and Linda had found out by accident and promised not to say anything, and my dad was furious on my behalf and said we should leave immediately. Jake and I left the party without saying goodbye to anyone, And on the drive home, I just sobbed because this moment I'd been dreaming about for months. The moment where I got to tell my parents they were going to be grandparents and see their faces light up had been taken from me, and I could never get it back. When we got home, I called my mom and had a long conversation explaining what happened and apologizing for how she found out. And she was understanding, but I could tell she was hurt that she hadn't been one of the first to know. And I felt horrible because this was supposed to be such a happy moment for everyone, but instead, it was tainted by Linda's selfishness. Jake called his mother that night and absolutely tore into her for announcing our pregnancy without permission. And she had the audacity to act like she didn't understand why we were upset, saying she was just so excited to be a grandmother and she wanted to share the joy with everyone. And Jake told her that it wasn't her joy to share, it was our news, and she'd stolen a moment we could never get back. Linda started crying and said she didn't think it was a big deal and we were overreacting. And Jake said, "No, Mom, you violated our privacy and disrespected us, and you need to understand that this was completely inappropriate." And she hung up on him, saying she didn't deserve to be yelled at on her birthday. The next day, Linda posted on Facebook about how excited she was to be a grandmother and included photos of Jake and me from the party, and the post got hundreds of likes and comments, and I felt like my pregnancy announcement had been completely taken over by my mother-in-law's social media presence. I commented on the post asking her to take it down because we weren't ready to announce publicly yet, and she responded saying the cat was already out of the bag and everyone knew anyway, so what difference did it make? And I ended up blocking her on social media because I couldn't handle seeing her bask in the attention that should have been about Jake and me. Jake's entire family reached out over the next few days with a mix of congratulations and criticism. Some people thought Linda had overstepped and agreed she was wrong to announce without asking, while others thought we were being too sensitive and that Linda was just excited and we should be happy she's happy about the baby. Jake's dad called to try to smooth things over and said Linda felt terrible about upsetting us, but she'd gotten caught up in the excitement, and Jake told his dad that feeling terrible wasn't enough. Linda needed to actually apologize and acknowledge what she did wrong, and his dad said, "We know how Linda is, and we just have to accept that she doesn't always think before she acts." I went to my first prenatal appointment the following week, and everything looked good. But the joy of that moment was diminished because the excitement of the pregnancy had already been announced and processed by everyone we knew, and I felt robbed of the chance to share that first ultrasound photo with my parents in the intimate way I'd imagined. Linda sent a text message a few days after her party saying she was sorry if she'd upset us, but she didn't think we'd mind her sharing such happy news. And the sorry if apology made me even more angry because she was basically saying she was sorry we got upset, not sorry for what she actually did. Jake responded to her text saying that wasn't a real apology, and until she could genuinely acknowledge that she violated our boundaries and stole our moment, we weren't interested in having a relationship with her, and she responded with a crying emoji and said she couldn't believe her own son was cutting her off over something so small. We ended up setting a hard boundary that Linda would not be involved in any other pregnancy milestones or announcements. She wouldn't be told the gender when we found out. She wouldn't be invited to any baby showers, and she wouldn't be at the hospital when I gave birth. And Jake communicated this to her, and she lost her mind, saying we were punishing her and keeping her from her grandchild. Linda's sisters called me to say I was being cruel to exclude her from the pregnancy after she'd already apologized. And I had to explain that she hadn't actually apologized, and even if she had, her announcement had consequences. And one of those consequences was that we no longer trusted her with sensitive information. The whole situation has been incredibly stressful at a time when I'm supposed to be enjoying my pregnancy, and I've spent so much mental energy being angry at Linda instead of being excited about becoming a mother, and I resent her for stealing that joy from me. Jake has been supportive and agrees that his mother completely crossed a line. But I can tell he's struggling with the family pressure to forgive her and let her be involved, and I've told him that I need him to prioritize our family unit over his mother's feelings. And he's been doing that, but it's clearly hard for him. We're now planning a small gender reveal for just our immediate families, and we explicitly told Linda she's not invited. And she's been posting passive-aggressive things on Facebook about being excluded from important family moments. And Jake's family members keep telling us we're being too harsh. My own family has been nothing but supportive, and my mom has said multiple times that what Linda did was unforgivable, and she completely understands why we've set these boundaries, and having my family's support has been helpful. But it doesn't change the fact that my pregnancy announcement was stolen from me. I'm now almost 12 weeks along, and I should be glowing and excited. But instead I'm stressed and angry and constantly dealing with drama from my mother-in-law, who still doesn't seem to understand what she did wrong, and I'm worried about what other boundaries she'll violate once the baby is actually here. Jake and I have discussed potentially moving to another city before the baby comes, so we have some distance from his family, and while that feels extreme, it also feels necessary to protect our peace and our new family. And Jake is actually open to it, which shows how bad things have gotten. So that's my story of how my mother-in-law stole my pregnancy announcement at her birthday party and then refused to take accountability for it. And now we're dealing with the fallout while trying to prepare for a baby. I want to hear from you. Am I overreacting by excluding her from the rest of my pregnancy? Or would you do the same thing in my position? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you've dealt with boundary-crossing in-laws, share your stories because I need to know I'm not alone. And don't forget to hit subscribe and like this video if you think Linda was completely out of line. Thanks for watching.